Since these sermons were from the very, very earliest 1900s, and since his diary extends just to the year 1920, of course, his experience with Hitler cannot possibly be recorded. It is interesting from several points of view to note his attitude. Number one, he was a thoroughly German, a patriotic German. Towards the end of World War I, he adored the Kaiser very, very much, and he felt very much sad when the Kaiser finally abdicated. On the other hand, he did see that at the end of World War I, where initially he, like the rest of Germany, thought that the Germans, the Austrians were the good guys and the British were the bad guys, he saw that he, like the rest of Germany, had been duped, actually. The other thing, in his commentary on the course of World War I, he made many very wise statements, and he saw, there's one entry in that diary, and I mentioned this in answer to your question, that he has an entry at exactly the date of the Versailles Treaty. And realizing and seeing the tremendous demands that the Allies made on Germany, he said, "This will lead to another war." And I was amazed at his prescience, the way he foresaw that there was would indeed be another war.
But the significant moment was Kristallnacht, wasn't it, for him?
Yes, of course he doesn't. I was in Germany during Kristallnacht, and he, of course, was also. At that time, he was already an elderly man, and Kristallnacht, which was on November 9th, 1938, he passed away about 1.5 years later. Indeed, he saw the rise of Hitler, and he was able to reach England in the early 1939, and he passed away in London 1940. Again,
do you have any recollections of the rise of Hitler? And
very much so, yes, because I saw it, even though I was a little boy, I saw it. Not only that, I realized in retrospect that there was a bold handwriting on the wall, which I could see in retrospect, which my dad, who was a physician in a small town in Germany, must have seen also, especially since early on he was hit by the boycott of the Jews. And my mother records in her diary how happy they were that finally the boycott was at that time lifted and my father was able to practice again. But I saw so very distinctly, with sharply etched in my memory, the Nazis, the brown shirts, walking past our window singing "Wenn das Judenblut vom Messer spritzt, ist alles wieder gut." When Jewish blood splatters from the knife, all will be well. And I heard this, and my father heard it, and there was a Stürmer, which was this obscene Nazi paper, thoroughly anti-Semitic, which I saw, which I remember, and my father saw also. My question now was, why did my father wait for such a long time?
And the answer is?
And actually, my father was tipped off 2 weeks before Kristallnacht by a friendly priest who said in so many words, "Get out fast," which he did. And I was fortunate to be able to, my whole family was reunited in the United States.
Is that where your family headed for? Because you said your grandfather, Rabbi Rosenberg, went to England.
What happened was the following. My father, 2 weeks before Kristallnacht, was able to get to Cuba. That was the only country that would accept Jews at that time. My mother sent me and my sister to England on the Kindertransport, and we lived in London, and later on I lived in Margate. And my mother took her aging parents, father and a mother, from Berlin, where they lived at that time, to London. And they lived in London in Golders Green. And as a matter of fact, the day my mother got up from Shiva from my grandfather, she was called by the American consulate saying, you have a visa, you can get to the United States. That's so Opa, as I called him, is buried in London. But I do, even though I was 9 years old, I do have very strong recollections. My Opa taught me my first Chumash. He taught me my first Mishnayos, and he loved me very much, I must say.
A very touching story. Just going back to the sermons. Originally, the sermons were delivered, am I right in saying, just 3 times a year? Originally, and then Rabbi Rosenberg made it a weekly event.
I believe so. I mean, that's historically it was just for Kol Nidre and for Shabbos Hagadol and Shabbos Shabbos Hagadol and Shabbos Shuva, of course.
If Rabbi Rosenberg could give some suggestions and advice to people that are composing drushes today, what advice do you think he would give them?
He would give them.
How can you make the perfect drusha?
He gave quite a bit of advice in his diary. The most important thing is to compose it carefully and learn it by heart. Rehearse it, and speak without notes.
And also bring some humor.
Yeah, well, the humor, the fact is that my humor was from reading his diary. Humor was not part of his general personality, but what does come out in his sermons, even though he was speaking to a group of Jews that were obviously not very learned, is a lot of lumdus in his sermons, and he quoted not only from Chumash, from Talmud, from Midrash. So his sermons were very, very rich in quotations from Chazal and from the Torah. And that definitely would be a part of it. And also they were well organized, those sermons. And matter of fact, the sermons had a certain character to it in the sense that he would introduce the sermon either with a statement or with a quotation, talk about that particular parsha, or that in this case they were all holidays. The name of the book is called 20 Festival Sermons, where they were all specific holidays. He would introduce the holiday and then focus on a particular aspect of that holiday, and that would become the topic of the sermon. So that would be the structure.
And just finally, when you translated, it must have been a very difficult task not to perhaps lose the definition and the meaning of the drasha when translating.
Translating was rather difficult. Even though I've been translating now, that's my work since I retired from being an eye surgeon. For the past 10 years or so, I've been doing translations, and of course German is ultimately my Mama Loshen, but it was a difficult kind of German. It was very, very difficult. As a matter of fact, some of the words I could not find in my modern German dictionary. But as you say, I tried my very, very best to translate well, to translate into an English that was a smooth and a way of translating, and yet retain the meaning of it.
Okay. 20 festival sermons by Rabbi Dr. Isaac Rosenberg, and the publishers are Gefen. I certainly would recommend each and every Jewish household to have this book. It will give you an insight into the period of history of Rabbi Dr. Isaac Rosenberg that he was in, and the messages are timeless, inspiration, and lots of lessons to learn. And thank you ever so much for joining Jewish Online Magazine.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.